So I was just in a Discord community, and one of our brothers brought up the topic of lust, and unfortunately it's been a struggle for him where he's been addicted to it. And even though that he wants to stop, every few days or few weeks he ends up relapsing, and then it causes him shame, it causes him guilt. It's something that he really doesn't understand how to defeat on his own, and he's seeking help, he's seeking guidance, right? And one thing that I would say to anybody that's struggling with this, first off, you do have to give yourself some grace, because there has never been another time in history where we were so overly stimulated by this type of sexual content. It was never so accessible. I mean, up until the 70s, you didn't have anything until like magazines came along, and then maybe you had the movies and the videos that you could rent from the Blockbuster, right? But it wasn't in your face. It wasn't right there in your pocket. And then once we got the smartphones that were connected to the internet, it was essentially a wrap. Now everybody is one click away from it. And so we got to be very careful and understand that this is a serious problem. This is not something that is natural. I mean, if you go back before the era of the magazines and the videos, anybody who wanted to please themselves, essentially, it was just their imagination in their room, right? Or if they had a partner they wanted to go after, it had to be in real life. It wasn't just getting your rocks off to a screen. And so we are at that point now where it's in your face. You're getting way more stimulation than what's natural. And, thinking about all the periods in human history prior to this, they didn't have the same kind of struggle where it was just in your face like this, like it is today. So do give yourself grace, because it is something that's hijacked society. And we just got to be aware of how it's going to be affecting ourselves and make sure that we don't succumb to it, even though, it might be normalized, even though it's something that some people just accept like it's an okay thing. But we got to really understand, like, what is this doing to us on a physical level when it's hijacking kids at puberty age, right? It's essentially screwing them up, thinking that they have a good view of what women really want. And it's not something that you can really bring into relationships like that. I mean, what the porn industry is essentially doing is selling, extreme fantasy, right? And though some people might be into it, a lot of the times this is not the behavior of a normal relationship between a man and a woman that want love, not lust, right? I mean, when two people connect together out of an act of love, it's not gonna be the rough beat 'em up, choke 'em and everything else, right? It's gonna be something that's more sensual, and it can be something that's beautiful, right? And I mean, it's not at all like what's depicted on some of these, websites. But we get hijacked essentially in our mind thinking that this is, normal. And some of the girls are even doing the same thing now. And so that, it becomes a vicious cycle of people just giving into these like unnatural urges, right? And it's messing up their body, like, getting them attracted to the wrong thing, but then it's also hitting them in their mind too, right? So when the mind and the body is both guiding you wrong, you have to tap into something deeper. That part that says, I'm ashamed of doing this, like this is not something that I want to continue, that's your spirit talking to you. That's your spirit going against your mind. That's your spirit going against your body, because those two things right now are addicted. They enjoy giving into that urge, right? But afterwards, then you feel horrible. That's your spirit telling you you need to stop, right? And that's what you need to get in tune with. Like, there has to be a spiritual type of willpower that comes where it's like, even though my mind and my body is telling me to give into this addiction, it's not what my spirit wants. And so I have to really work to kind of essentially reprogram myself, right? Because we got to remember, we have to start with the mind, I think, in this case, because the mind is like a computer, right? It's like an AI technology. That's what this technology is based off of, the mind. And so When we look at like the YouTube algorithm, it'll feed us whatever we're looking at. So if we continue indulging in the pornography, it will be something that the mind keeps feeding us. So if we're doing it every day, it'll become like an everyday suggestion. Let's go ahead and watch it, right? And then you have to be the one that literally says, no, this is not something I want to watch. And in those moments where you get that urge, you have to say, okay, I recognize that this is a problem. Maybe you should, have some little things posted around your house. I did this myself, where I posted notes like in the areas where I would like to go, for my private time. I posted notes saying, like, this is not what you want to do, or put your energy elsewhere, right? And this is something that we have to become aware of, right? In every moment that we feel weak, we have to consciously make a different choice. And the more that we do that, our AI algorithm, our brain, is going to eventually stop feeding it, right? So there's a concept in neuroscience where it's called neuroplasticity, where the brain can essentially reset itself. You give it the commands over the course of, say, a month, and the brain, if you follow it, will rewire itself. And right now, it's wired to the adult media content. So the person who is viewing it, say, every couple weeks, you might not get the suggestion in your head for a couple weeks, but then it pops up. And if you follow it, then it's going to keep reinforcing that, right? So you have to literally, in this moment, retrain your algorithm and say, no, I'm going to focus on something else. And like I said, put reminders on your phone even, like I did that for a while, where I put a wallpaper, right, telling me, no, stay focused, right? And you can also put apps that will even block your internet access. If you need that, do that. So you catch yourself, right? You don't just want to go on autopilot, because if this stuff is really controlling you on that type of level, you do have work you need to do. If you're going against your heart and what your spirit wants, you don't want to go against your own word. So this is something that is really important to do, right? And one other thing in regards to neuroplasticity, there was this book that I read by Sherman Helmstetter, I think his name is, or Shad Helmstetter, I'm sorry. So this book talks about neuroplasticity and the type of things that you want to say to yourself to kind of rewire your brain. And so I created a recording essentially to address my lust, and I would play this over and over again during the time that I was really trying to defeat it. And, for about 5-10 minutes, it was just essentially a script that said, I am aware of lust and how it affects my energy and my time. When my mind tries to trick me into watching pornography, I will not act on it. I will no longer lose to my mind or my bodily desires. Women are not objects, they are human beings. I will treat them with love and respect. And I would just play that in my mind for, 5 to 10 minutes. You play the recording, and this is the strategy that they suggest in that book to just kind of rewire your neural circuits. You're putting in a program, essentially. You're treating your brain like a computer. And I would say that this helped me, right? When I was really struggling the most, where I was fighting it on a daily basis, this is something that can help you. And like I said, you can put notes up, you can put blocks on your phone, but you just have to follow that spirit, right? That heart. What your heart is telling you, you need to stop, then it's time to stop, right? And you have to override your mind, and you have to override your body and program it for better, right? And like I said, this is something that a lot of men deal with, but once you do finally beat that addiction, then you're going to be a lot happier. You're going to feel better, you're going to have more energy, because essentially you are draining your life force every time you watch that. And then you're giving women that you don't even know this, the satisfaction, the focus, the free space in your mind. And again, these are probably people you wouldn't even want to sleep with in real life. And I can make it another video on that one pretty soon, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. This is about a 10-minute video, and I hope that that gives you help. If you need to do some journaling is another good tactic, so you can see what's affecting you in your mind, what triggers you. Be aware of your triggers. If there's stuff on social media that triggers you, when you see Instagram baddies, get off of Instagram for a while, right? So you already know what you need to do. It's time for you to just bring that willpower out of you and do it, okay? So my full love. I hope that made sense. I hope that adds value. I love you guys. I hope you defeat the addiction, okay? And lock in with love, not lust. All right, take care, and we will talk soon.